but it is like, I think honestly, like it might be too scary for kids because kids have had it easy. I'm just gonna be honest. Kids have had it so easy. Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh releases.
My name is Blaze.
And my name is James.
And this week we're talking about the brand new Netflix film, Nightbooks.
Nightbooks is the new film produced by Sam Raimi and Ghost House Pictures. It follows Alex, a boy obsessed with scary stories, who is imprisoned by an evil young witch in her contemporary New York City apartment. And she must have a good job because New York City apartments are not cheap these days. We don't really get into that part of the plot, but she's a witch. I'm sure she's got a money spell she can work on too.
Low key, we do get into that part of the plot, actually. Sorry to interrupt you, but we do. I think since the apartment travels, she only pays rent in the cheapest places that it goes.
Oh, this is true. You schooled me there. Damn, now I look like an amateur here. What is this, amateur hour? Luckily, we're only here for 10 minutes, though, so I don't make myself look too bad for too long then. But yeah, Blaze, what did you think of this Netflix original film?
So I have to say, I think that Netflix has been doing a good job of filling the void for... I mean, we weren't on their best side last week for talking about just the fact that they're kind of putting out a lot of similar films. I think that this is like one where I don't feel like it's totally similar to too many other things that they have on the platform, but I do feel like they've been doing a good job at low-key releasing stuff around Halloween that has a Halloween vibe. And the fun thing about this one is it's a movie that's totally made for kids. I definitely think it would probably be scary for a lot of kids, like honestly too scary, which actually made me enjoy it more. So I pretty much really enjoyed this film. It wasn't like the best movie ever or anything, but compared to the other fare out there and other movies that are kind of in this same space, I'm thinking about last year's remake of Roald Dahl's The Witches. This is a way better film than that remake. And considering that remake was weirdly like a shot-for-shot CGI snooze fest.
Exactly, yeah, 100% agree. Like, I was trying to compare this to like recent animated, like, or not animated, but kids horror films that we've gotten in the more recent years. And every time we review them, I always say like, I wish we got more of these and stuff. And like, it seems like Netflix is doing it. I kind of said it with our Vampires in the Bronx review that we did literally last October. Like, that was a big movie that Netflix put out during quarantine and also during the month of Halloween and stuff. And we, for the most part, enjoyed it, but we didn't like find it like groundbreaking at the time. But this one definitely like continued with that track, but just like kind of up the ante in terms of like, you know, style and even the special effects. Like the special effects feel very kiddie like with the Goosebumps movies, where it's like well done, but it still looks very over the top animated and stuff. But what I found different with this one though is they're actually pretty intense. Like this movie, you can show it to kids, absolutely. It's still like kind of a family friendly movie, but it really pushes the boundaries and like makes it like actually pretty scary and stuff. And I was like pretty like tripped out. I looked up the director, David Yarvosky, who we've I don't know if you ever saw it, Blaze, but I remember trying to watch it, but I wasn't able to finish it. He directed a movie called The Hive a few years back, and I remember visually it was amazing, but just like I couldn't keep up with the story and I passed out and never gave it a chance again. But yeah, it has that same style I thought he brought into this movie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it somewhat in the fact that it all takes place in one setting. I was super like obsessed and like excited about that film, The Hive, but I remember being like ultimately extremely disappointed because it basically takes place all in one room. But the film was basically sold as like a summer camp movie, so it's just like, the hell, like it's a summer camp movie and it literally takes place in one cabin. There's no summer camp if it's more of a cabin movie, you know, which it has its like throwbacks to Evil Dead. Obviously it wears those homages on its sleeve, which is pretty cool actually, because Sam Raimi did help produce this film through his studio. So I was disappointed in The Hive, but I was actually really enjoying this film. And I think I remember I haven't seen David Yarevsky's previous film, which is I think you watched it. It's like the James Wan dark Superman style movie, if I can remember correctly.
Yes, which I voted I voted that as the worst movie of that year that came out. I was just not into that movie. There was some cool kill moments and stuff, but that movie just wasn't for me and stuff. Like, I appreciated how different it was, but just wasn't for me. I wouldn't blame it necessarily on him. I thought it was just like an interesting concept that, as much as I like the Suicide Squad, every once in a while James Gunn comes up with a bizarre movie that I just don't enjoy, and that was one of them.
And that film that we're actually talking about, in case you're wondering, was Brightburn. I haven't seen it, but Correct. I remember you thought it like should have won a couple Razzies or something.
Yeah, it was so bad that I remember texting you about it. Like, it was during quarantine last year. I watched it with my sister while I was visiting my family during quarantine, and I was just like, this is the worst garbage ever. Like, and I just had to rant about how bad it was. I remember.
Yeah, I think like it's a cool concept, but sometimes like only a concept can really get you that far. And I felt like this film, the concept is based on I think it's based on a novel or comic book. I'm not quite sure, but basically it's an adapted property, and I think that probably helped kind of tell this story a little more. But what I think that I love the most about this film was how much they use there's a fair amount of CGI and stuff. Like, there's this Sphinx cat in it, which they use a regular cat, but there's a lot of like CGI shots whenever it's like doing things, which it didn't bother me too much because it's kind of like animal cruelty if they're throwing it against a wall, obviously. But I love that in this film, like basically all the effects that they used that were practical, because I thought that there was a significant amount of practical. There is a lot of CGI in this movie, but I thought there was a ton of practical effects, stuff that reminded me of like all the great work that Netflix had done on that Dark Crystal series, Age of the Resistance, and it kind of like gave me little nods to that. And I just overall really liked how much it felt like there was a lot of like love that was put into this film, whether a ton of people are going to watch it or whether it's going to fly under the radar like last year's Vampires in Brooklyn.
Right, yeah. I hope a lot of people do check it out. When I watched it wasn't in the top 10 on Netflix currently, but I've seen that a lot of people are checking it out though on Letterboxd, which is at least nice, as long as people are just checking it out. And I'd love to see like, Sam Raimi keep producing and stuff. Some of the movies he's produced over the past couple of years, like, I'm not the biggest fan of and stuff, but like overall I still trust like what he looks for or sees in other people and stuff. Like, I was a huge fan of Don't Breathe, as were you, and I enjoyed the sequel. I know a lot of people weren't into it, but I was actually surprised on the direction they went in. But this, like, it just felt different to see like a kids based horror film and stuff from Sam Raimi, and I thought it worked well and stuff. Like, I really liked the kids in this movie. Their chemistry was really great. And nothing also Kristen Ritter. It's been a while since we've seen her in anything, but she played a very fun witch who also was quite menacing in certain parts too. And she's done that before in many other roles and stuff, but it's just cool to see her back on Netflix and stuff and, being a great character.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that it was like fun performances all around from the entire cast. Like, it's a very kind of small film, but it doesn't feel totally small. Like, the plot works perfectly in the way that it needs to be like kind of contained with this magical apartment, but it has these fun throwbacks to Hansel and Gretel, obviously, with them being kind of lured into this apartment that's essentially traveling throughout the world, or through like maybe even time, I guess. But I don't know, it's super fun. Like, I thought this movie is like perfect if you have kids to watch, but it is like, I think honestly, like, it might be too scary for kids because kids have had it easy. I'm just gonna be honest. Kids have had it so easy. One of my favorite movies as a kid, I was fucking terrified of it, and I've talked about it multiple times on these shows, is The Witches by Nicholas Roeg. Not the last year's one, but the original, in which last year's remake was based off of. And basically, yeah, like, that movie scared the shit out of me, and it's not even that scary. It's just the imagery is terrifying. And this film has imagery that is honestly feels like throwbacks to that, where the imagery is absolutely terrifying of these witches. Like, Kristen Ritter looks fine, but there's another witch that, man, I'd be having nightmares as a kid if I saw that. So I think that this movie has scares too, which I've never seen in a kids movie. So, dude, kids are gonna be too scared of this movie. That's the only thing I'm worried about, is like maybe people won't even watch this because the own audience for it that this film's made for, it might be too scary for them. So
Yeah.
Whew.
I'm excited to see like what's being said on Twitter or something like Moms Against Netflix or something. Wasn't that like a crazy Instagram or Twitter account made at one point and stuff? And I could see them rallying against this movie because, yeah, that witch is horrifying. That's straight out of Evil Dead. And just like, yeah, like we said, also like there's like some crazy neon gore moments and stuff, like not crazy realistic gore, but just like there's bugs involved during one scene and like their blood is like crazy neon color and it gets like splatter fest at certain points, and it's for comedic effect, but it's just shocking to see like kids amongst this and stuff. So I bet they had a blast and stuff. This is like a kid's dream movie to work on, I feel like.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I think that that's what made this movie shine, is it seemed like everyone that was making it was having fun. Like at home, you're like, I haven't really seen anything like this in a long time, maybe if not even ever. So that gives it, this little special element too. So yeah, definitely if you guys have Netflix or, want to entertain some kids or maybe scare the shit out of them, I would definitely put on Nightbooks.
Yeah, be sure to do that. Leave a comment letting us know what you thought about the movie and stuff. Like if you're on board with our thoughts on it. If you have kids, definitely let us know what they thought of it too. I'm curious. Yeah, it's a great way to help support the show as well too.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, well, you're in luck because we are also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Catch all our links down below in the description box. Anyways, guys, that'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.